Okay, dealing with an isosceles triangle. First of all, we have to know what an isosceles triangle is. An isosceles triangle is a triangle that has two sides that are the same length. Okay? Two sides that are the same length. One way to make an isosceles triangle is to have a line, right? Find the midpoint to that line. Make any point along this axis of symmetry. Okay, so this axis of symmetry along this midpoint of this line, it's a perpendicular midpoint, right? As long as your axis of symmetry is perpendicular to that line segment, oh, that's important, right? Then you can find any point on the line on that axis of symmetry and make what's called an isosceles triangle. And you can even make one that's the same length as this, which would no longer be isosceles, but equilateral. Okay? So let's do this. So those look like mirror images, but they're not. Okay? All right, so how are we going to do this with this problem right here? -4, 9, and 6, -5. Okay? So we have 2 points. Well, first thing we have to do is figure out the midpoint, right? Because that midpoint, we need to find at that midpoint a line that goes perpendicularly through it, perpendicular to this line. Okay? So, the midpoint to this, MP, would be equal to, oh, that's not a good color, would be equal to the x's, so let's call this 1 and 2. So 1 plus 2 all over 2, and 1 plus 2 all over 2. So that's our midpoint. And so when we do the math, we've got 2 over 2, and we've got 4 over 2. And when we do that math, we have 1 and 2. So the midpoint is equal to 1, 2. That's where the midpoint is. So if we graph this really quickly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'd have that point. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'd have this point. And you notice how now we have to get a line that's perpendicular to that line. To do that, first we have to have our point. Point 1, 2. 1, 2. That point right there. That goes through that line. Because my art is so awesome. Okay? So we have that point right there. And now we need to have it go through there at a perpendicular. So what do we need? We need slope. We need to know this slope so that this slope is opposite inverse, or flipped and smacked. So, how do I find the slope of these 2 points? Well, close. Remember this? Negative, or y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Or, flip it and smack it. Okay, just flip these and smack it. So my m is equal to 9 over -4 as long as my y is on top, right? Negative 5 over 6, and then I smack it right in the middle. Boom. So now we have 9 minus 5, which is 9 plus 5, which is 14. And now we have negative 4 minus 6, which is negative 4 plus or minus 6, or minus 10. So our slope is equal to 14 over 10. We could reduce that, right? 2 goes into there 7 times. 2 goes into there 5 times. We have a slope of negative 7/5. Now I don't need the y equals mx plus b, because all I care about is perpendicular. And perpendiculars don't care where they go through the y-intercept. All they care about is this flipped. So what I need is m perpendicular. And remember, m perpendicular is just the opposite inverse of m. Or flip and smack it. So again, flip it and smack it. A double negative implies that it's a positive, so it's 5 over 7. Okay? So there's that second smack right there. So you flipped it, you smacked it, you got 5 over 7. Alright? And now we know what our m perpendicular is. But we need to find a line so that we can find a point on the line. Right? So I need to find a line, so I have to have y equals mx plus b, whereas m is equal to 5/7. X is equal to one of these, and y is equal to one of these. Which one you want to use? I like 5s. I don't know. So, okay, so my x is 6, and my y is negative 5. It doesn't matter, because I'm just doing math now. So, here we go. I'm going to find b. I have 30 over 7 plus b equals negative 5. And now, 37ths. What is that? 4 and 2/7. So when I subtract 4 and 2/7 from both sides, or I add a negative 4 and 7 to both sides, these are both negative, so it becomes more negative. So b is equal to 9 and 2/7. If b is equal to 9 and 4/7, then y equals mx plus b implies that we got y is equal to the perpendicular slope. Perpendicular m would be 5/7 x. Oh, that's a minus. Sorry, minus 9/7. Minus 9 and 2/7. So, here's the cool part. All we need is any point on this line. Guess which is the easiest point? The one where x is 0. If x is 0, right? It's still an isosceles triangle. It's just really thin. So when x is 0, guess what? What's 5/7 of 0? 0. Minus 9 and 2/7 would be y is equal to minus 9 and 2/7. And that would be your point. That would make you another point of x is 0, y is negative 9 and 2/7, and you now have an isosceles triangle with the easiest point. Now you can find a ton of points, right? You can plug any number in for x and find a y. Okay? But I think that's the easiest one.
Not